Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill has obviously received a lot of attention. It is the culmination of efforts of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus and education advocates that branded themselves as Campaign Learn throughout the last few months. We came up with a number of bullet points that we felt needed to be introduced in legislation to address the achievement gap here in the state of Connecticut. I just wanted to take a moment to just think or to share with folks why I think that the achievement gap as a concept is so important. And one would probably be quick to assume that, I think it's important because I'm black. But I'm a state legislator and I have a district to represent. And I think it's important because I think it's important to my constituents and to the state of Connecticut. And my constituents are an interesting demographic. I have Reading, Connecticut. Reading, Connecticut has always and consistently had the top high school in the state of Connecticut, or the top 5. They were recently recognized by U.S. News and World Report as a silver medalist, one of the 12 best schools in the country. I'm proud to say that that's my alma mater. And the school systems of Easton and Reading have been rated by Connecticut Magazine as 1 and 4, respectively, in the state of Connecticut. I also represent Danbury, the city of Danbury, which has 4 schools that are failing, that are going through the Cambridge study and coming up with an accountability plan put forward working with the Connecticut Department of Education. So it's really these 2 universes that I have to represent, and why I asked to be on the Education Committee in the first place, because I want to make sure that the Readings and the Eastons and the Bethels continue to have excellence in education, but I also want to make sure that Danbury and other communities meet those same standards and have that same academic excellence. And the interesting thing about the whole argument about the achievement gap is, and the whole philosophy of what you need to do to address it, is always a matter of money. Senator Boucher and I represent a couple of the same towns, and we just had the luxury of going in front of the Chamber of Commerce last week, and Senator Boucher brought a pamphlet along and made sure that she told everyone that, which is true, in every election I hear the same thing, that for every dollar spent and that goes to Hartford, you get 3 cents back in Reading, 5 cents in Bethel. So what do we do about that? On the one hand, my taxpayers are sending all this money and it's going to Waterbury and to New Haven and to Hartford. What are we getting in Bethel, Connecticut? And I have to respond to that as a Democrat and as an elected official and have an answer. And my answer is, I agree with Senator Boucher. We need to have more accountability in the way that we spend money. And the largest part of where we're spending money is in education. And where we're spending money in education in the state of Connecticut is not working, because we have the largest achievement gap in the country. And we can quibble of how far last is last, but we're there. And as an African American, I'm bothered personally that on all of the test scores, African Americans and Latinos and poor urban whites are 30% behind on all the scores. And last night I thought about this, and I know that we can say that we've done things, and rightly so. So should we say that we've done things to address this, but in a comprehensive way, have we? If you go into our state database and put in the concept achievement gap and pull down the bills and go back, I went last night and just went through every year. I put in achievement gap and just pulled it down every year, all the way back to 1998. We haven't had a concept that said the achievement gap since 1998. So today we have a concept before us that says the achievement gap. And what I think this bill tries to do, and it is not perfect, but what it tries to do is to go to systems. It doesn't say, let's pour more money into Hartford and New Haven and Bridgeport and the 185 failing schools, because I cannot say that coming from my district. It says, let's look at the systems that are failing and encourage a change to take place in those systems. When I walked out of here yesterday, somebody said to me, who we've been working pretty closely to, why is the parent trigger so important to you? If you just drop that, you can have the rest of the bill. And I said, the parent, I didn't answer them, but in my brain I said, the parent initiative or trigger, or however you feel comfortable talking about it, is the one mechanism that can change a system. What am I talking about? I decided that because I'm really a country boy and graduated from Joe Barlow, I need to spend some time and visit some failing schools. So I did. And myself and my colleagues, for example, went to Harding High School, failing school. I was shocked to see, walking the halls between the classes, that there were security guards lined up in a row doing what they call sweeps, sweeping kids into class. I asked the principal, how long does this take? 7 minutes. So take a 45-minute classroom, 7 minutes to get everybody in, some more time to get settled. I don't know, how are those kids supposed to learn? Walked into the cafeteria, not the cafeteria, the auditorium. Was shown some of the work that was done. And then I was told that there's asbestos in the carpet. And I said, well, that can't be, because they would shut the school down. I said, no. They said, as long as you don't walk on the carpets, as long as you don't disturb it, it's okay, as long as it's contained. My common sense mind said, I don't know, if you walk on the carpets, I think it's no longer can be contained. Failing school. We have a systems problem here. And I'm not from the city, but I do know that the parents that are sending the children there don't have much of a choice about where they're sending those children. From Reading, Connecticut, my parents have a choice. They can write a check. They're not happy with Joe Barlow High School. And they may not be happy with Joe Barlow High School if it becomes 11. They may decide to send their kid to a private school. But all the parents' faces that you see at a Harding or somewhere else, at 185 of those schools, or how about the 96 failing schools that have been failing for 5 years? What options are we giving them as policymakers? How are we empowering them? And that is why I've hung on to the concept of the parent trigger, and why I ask you today to allow this bill to go forward, to allow us to work with you and our colleagues to continue to make this bill better. We listened to you. We came up with governing councils so that in year 3, parents wouldn't have that decision, because we listened and heard that there might be a rogue parent that was mad at a principal, and they could start this petition process. So we listened. We said, okay, we'll pull that back. We'll set up governing councils in every failing school, and we'll come up with a mechanism where teachers and community people can be part of this group and can work to help improve the school and give them real powers. But at some point, they could be co-opted. At some point, they could become a bureaucracy or a dysfunctional board of education, in effect. But if we left the parent trigger the ability to get 51% of parents to say we want a reconstituted school out there at year 5, it would incentivize and ensure that that entire building was working to improve the school. And if progress was being made, there would be no petition, because people would feel empowered, engaged, they would see the numbers change, and there would be no petition. But in those places where the system is failing our children, we would allow a parent to ask, to force a change. And let's not fall into classism, where we decide here in the Capitol that our urban parents aren't educated or don't know enough to want the change that their children deserve. We don't apply that same standard for my parents in Reading. 10 parents in Reading could probably change a principal. You don't need 51%. My superintendent of Bethel, I had to laugh. He kind of doesn't like the parent trigger idea himself. And I said, well, hey, if we have a failing school in Bethel, guess what? They're running you out of here on a rail so fast your head can spin. And he knows it. And that's the way it should be. So this is a way to engage the parents, to offer sustainability for parent involvement, and to get the meaningful, reconstituted schools that our children desire. Neighborhood schools of over 1,000 kids in the cities, they just don't work. You look at New York, you look at other places, they're breaking those schools down into academies, they're making them smaller. Whether it be the innovation schools that the Commissioner of Education came forward with, that's in this bill, which is a totally new concept. It's in the bill. Whether it be the compact schools that the unions want as a choice, it's in the bill. Whether it be a local charter school, it's in the bill. And quite frankly, if there's any other ideas out there, we're willing to put them in. Because all we want is to give the parents the empowerment to have some choices. So I understand this is a difficult vote. I understand that my friends in the union have been lobbying very hard against this. But I ask you today to take a historic vote and to take a vote that ensures accountability in education and that ensures system changes for those that are suffering and not having the opportunity to achieve in the state of Connecticut. Thank you, Mr. Chair.